Hi plant friends of Las Vegas. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the third tip of my video vlog series. These are going to be tips for how to have a successful succulent section in Las Vegas. Today, more specifically, I'm going to be going over the third tip, which is understanding the type and amount of light that succulents need. Let's get right into it. You guys remember photosynthesis from grade school? Well, guess what? That shit's relevant as fuck today. And if you just collect succulents, plants in general. Lighting is super important when it comes to plants, just like nature in general, right? Because it's how they make their food, because plants gotta eat too. Before we talk about lighting in regards to your Las Vegas succulents, let's talk about the basic types of lighting first. So I will be giving you guys a sort of mini guide on how to know the kind of lighting that, Bernie's basic types of lighting for succulents. A mini guide. We're gonna be going over
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6 types of light. First is direct light. And direct light is the kind of light that is literally direct from the sun. It's the type of light that gives you sunburn. And if it gives you sunburn, it'll give your succulents sunburn too. Unless they're acclimated, but I'll get into that another time. That is what direct light is, when the light hits direct onto the leaves of the plant. Okay, I'm gonna go into the next one. Indirect light is light that's diffused, whatever you want to call it. Whether it be from...
This is my light diffuser, everybody. This is my light. So, my god, my light. Let me just, technical malfunction or whatever. Okay. God, I can't.
Okay, this is what I use to diffuse my light. It's like a sheer curtain. So, yes. This is to help diffuse the light, to make it less harsh, to make it more soft. But it still allows for light to come through so that, they can make their food and stuff and be all happy and pretty. Let me give you an example of direct light. So, right now I have the blinds down. This is how my plant setup usually is. This is direct light. The only reason why I had the blinds down was because it's fucking bright in here. Which is perfect for the next type of light I'm going to talk about. Highlight, aka bright light. Bright light, to me, for this mini guide, it's the kind of light that happens during the brightest part of the day. It's also the kind of light that makes your eyes need to adjust when you go into a more medium or lower lit part of your home or house or apartment, whatever you live in. Does that make sense? So I would consider this room to be a highlight room, because one, it gets the most direct sun, which allows for it to be a very bright room, and it's a south-facing window, a huge south-facing window, that really allows for a lot of light to come in. So that's that. Medium light is, the brightest part of the day. Medium light is the light that happens prior to that or after that. Does that make sense? So if this is the brightest part of the day, medium light happens right here. Don't know if that makes sense. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you a medium lit room.
Medium light, medium. Yeah, I'm wearing it.
It looks pretty bright in here. Oh god, it's messy. It's okay. It looks a little bright in here. But this is more of a medium lit room. This is because that thing right here, this sliding window door, is an east facing, so it gets morning light, and then the sun kind of goes this way throughout the day, like opposite of it. So it looks pretty brightish now, but it's like 1. But this is medium-ish. I don't know, that doesn't really help. But if you can like draw or write or read or knit or do whatever kind of activity that you need to that has enough light, you know, that isn't like super bright, you know, that like that shit where you need to dim it down, but it isn't like, oh my god, I can't see what I'm doing, I need a light. To me, that's medium light. Alrighty. And then for low light, this is the best I can do for low light. This is my hallway. God, it's like a house tour. So as you can see, there's like no windows. Right, no windows, but you can still see, right? Like there's still light. This might even be medium. Let's go into the darker. But like, so this is like low light, right? Not that much light. I guess I could still comfortably like read and like draw and stuff. But this is like the lowest light of my house. Lighting, I'm gonna go back. And low light, yeah, like typically no windows. Let's see, this closet. What kind of fucking, there's no plants in here, obviously. But, let me see what my notes say. Low light is a very small source of light or a very far source of light. Or it can be the time during dawn or morning time or evening time, dawn and dusk. And then no light. I have a bathroom. Yikes. Low light is like where you can't see or you can barely see or there's no fucking light. That's low light. Don't do that to your plants. That's fucked up. It's important to understand that lighting changes throughout the day as well as throughout the seasons. Lighting can also change depending, like there's a whole bunch of different factors, right? Which I'll talk about eventually. When it comes to the amount of sun, there's no better way to say this than the succulents talk to you. They'll tell you when they don't have enough sun or they'll show you. Because when succulents don't get enough sun, they start to show lighting deficiencies. So things like if your succulent was sun stressed, aka if it has a lot of beautiful color, and then if it's brought into an area or a place that doesn't have as much sun, that color, let's say if it was like red or orange or something, that color will turn back into a green form. And that's a sign of not enough sun. Another sign of not enough sun, I have an example actually.
Not enough sun, right?
I shouldn't be laughing, but I mean, they still look awesome, all right? Like, okay, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. This is actually an example of not enough light. And I'm sorry, but it's winter time and what am I supposed to do? Grow lights. Anyways.
Holy moly, this shit's thirsty. Anyways.
So, for this particular plant, it's telling me that the amount of sun that it's getting is not enough. Why? Such a pretty plant, goddamn. Because, okay, I can tell because, one, they're starting to stretch right here. See, typically, this is like an echeveria type. They're low growers. They're supposed to be like compact and like small and like not long like this. So as you can see, it's stretching out so that more leaves can like try to like find the sun. Like, where the fuck is the sun? Like, I'm gonna find it. So that is a stretched, one of my stretched succulents, which isn't, it's not like not the worst, but whatever. Still looking cute.
Actually, she's gonna be my fucking, thumbnail. Okay, bye-bye.
And then of course you can adjust accordingly depending on the space that you have and the lighting that you have, if possible. A rule of thumb for me is to give my succulents as much sun as I possibly can throughout the day, because generally that's the shit they like. A lot of sun. But you got to be careful of the type of sun, which I'll talk about in a little bit. To get more specific, from my experience with the way that I have my plant set up and with the lighting that I have, my plants typically get maybe an average of like 5-ish hours of either direct or indirect light. Direct during wintertime because the sun isn't as strong, and then indirect during the summertime because yikes, it's hot, it's gonna burn. Anyways, and this is an average, of course, because there's so many different factors to when it comes to your lighting, and so I'm going to talk about the different factors right now. So as I was mentioning, light changes throughout the day, you know, like the sun rises and then the sun dips. Because of that, like, you know, sometimes throughout the day it gets lighter and then it gets really light and then it eventually gets dark again. So that's one thing that affects lighting for succulents, for our plants. Another thing is the current season. So right now we are in winter. So the shortest day of the year is always going to be December 21st, the first day of winter, right? And then the longest day of the year is going to be summer. I think June 21st or 2nd or something. Depending on what season you're in will affect the amount of light that your succulents get. Also, the way that your home, the building of your home is oriented, right? So my home is oriented south. My home is facing south. South windows, ooh, you see that? Okay, anyways, south windows and west windows get, for me, living in Las Vegas, I don't know if it's a northern hemisphere thing. I know that, you know, down in Australia right now it's summer. And then north windows and east facing windows get the least amount of light. East is where like the sun comes from. Oh, also the number and the size of your windows that you have. I am so blessed to be having this big ass window right here that's south facing. Lord, hopefully you guys do too, and if not, that's okay, because even though I have that, like, okay, I'll talk about it later. And then obstructions in the window too. So for me, so there's no obstructions to my immediate window, but there are some trees. Let's see if we can. Okay, you can see some of the trees. Oh Lord, like this tree right here, and there's another one right there. My film skills need work. Okay, so there's this tree, and also, you know what? Yes, there's trees outside my window. Far-ish. Hey everybody, say hi to Mac. Mac, say hi. Say hi. Good boy. Love you. What was I talking about? Obstructions. Oh, the windows. Yes. Obstructions in the window. So there's actually a time where the sun that hits my window will be blocked by some trees. Because of those trees, it's my pots! So because of those obstructions outside of my window, I get a little bit less light. So I hope that gives you guys a little bit better of an idea of how, you know, the different factors can play a part in your lighting situation, your specific lighting situation, okay? Another thing about lighting is that the type of succulent that you have and the size of the succulent that you have will depend on their needs too, all right? So let me give an example. So size will determine how much light your succulents need. Also, the type of succulent will determine how much light that your succulent needs. So for this smaller succulent is going to need a lot less light than this mama. More specifically, because this succulent is a lot more established, has a lot more roots, it's going to grow a lot more, and because it's going to grow a lot more, it's going to need a lot more. So it's going to need more water and it's going to need more light. these two plants. This plant is a type of plant that does not like a lot of direct sun because it dries out and then it starts looking all sad and then it's crust, like it starts turning brown and stuff. So it actually likes, I would say like medium-ish light, this dude. And so because he likes medium-ish light, I put him on this side. I put him, so this is a corner of my area right here, because the sun comes from literally like directly there. So if you think about it, light that comes onto it won't be that much. I don't even know if that makes sense, but whatever. Also, like if it's a vining plant, it's gonna need a lot more sun, just because succulent vining plants in general need a lot of sun. I can't wait for growing season. Okay, now that you understand the different kinds of lightings and the amounts of light that succulents need, now we can talk more specifically about how that applies to Las Vegas. As far as lighting goes, Las Vegas provides a really good amount of sun during the summertime, aka spring, summer, the growing season, whatever. But on the other side, the type of sun, especially if we're looking at summer, is the type to like burn and scorch, especially if your plant is not acclimated, which just means like if it hasn't been gradually like introduced to that kind of sun. Be careful about that. Make sure to provide your succulents with the proper shade and watering that it needs if you have it out directly. Acclimate it. And then in the winter, light is survivable, but you know, I do have grow lights just because during the winter we don't get shit out here, we don't get no sun, so I want to make sure that all my babies get what they need in order to thrive and survive and thrive. I would say they're doing fucking amazing. Thank you guys. And that's pretty much all I have for you for this tip of, tip number 3 of understanding the type and the amount of light that your succulents are going to need. Lighting is really big when it comes to taking care of succulents. And with the right amount of light, good things will happen to your plants. So I hope that helped. And thanks so much for watching. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Mac, do you have anything to say to them? All right, later everybody.